Hello everyone, my name is Jean Loridani and we are going to report the chapter 12 entitled Quality Management System. Why a quality management system? In recent years, the value of formal quality management systems has been widely questioned, and it is small wonder. In some countries, government policy has been to simply mandate certification against ISO 9000 family of standards on quality management systems for all government suppliers. In the early 1990s, quality consultants generally understood little or nothing about the specific industries in which they were operating. However, they knew how to put together a top-down ISO 9000 based quality system, and that satisfied the needs of senior managers faced with an urgent need to obtain certification. In earlier chapters, we have seen how the keystone of quality management is the concept of customer and supplier working together for their mutual advantage. For any particular organization, this can become total quality management if the supplier or customer interfaces extend beyond the immediate customers, back inside the organization, and beyond into the supply chain. In Figure 12.1, the systematic approach to process management for maximum effectiveness and to meet individual customers' requirements. The management system in use must be appropriate to the type of activity and product or services being offered. It may be useful to reflect on why such a device is necessary to achieve control of processes. This is the aim of good quality management system, to provide the operator of the process with consistency and with satisfaction in terms of method, materials, equipment, and etc. As illustrated in Figure 12.1, two feedback loops are also required. First is the voice of the customer through marketing activities, and the voice of process from the measurement activities. A good quality management system will ensure that two important requirements are met. First, the customer's requirements. For confidence in the ability of the organization to deliver the desired product or service consistently. Second is the organization's requirements, both internally and externally, including regulatory and at an optimum cost with efficient utilization of the resources available, like material, human, technological, and information. A quality management system may be defined then as an assembly of components such as the management, responsibilities, processes, and resources for implementing total quality management. Quality Management System Design and ISO 9000. The quality management system should apply to and interact with all processes in the organization. It begins with the identification of the customer requirements and ends with their satisfaction at every transaction interface. The activities may be classified in several ways, generally as processing, communicating, and controlling, but more usefully and specifically as shown in the Quality Management Processes model described in ISO 9001, Figure 12.2. This reflects graphically the integration of four major areas, namely management responsibility, resource management, product realization, measurement analysis, and improvement. Figure 12.2 is a model of process-based quality management system, and thus management responsibility, resource management, product realization, and measurement analysis and improvement are all major parts of quality management system, and it is said to be continuous improvement. It all begins with identification of customers' requirements and ends with their satisfaction. Fundamentally, ISO 9001 requires that the quality policy is a formal statement from management closely linked to the business and marketing plan and to customer needs. The quality policy is understood and followed at all levels and by all employees, each employee working towards measurable objectives. The business makes decisions about the quality system based on recorded data. The quality system is regularly audited and evaluated for conformance and effectiveness. Records show how and where materials and products were processed to allow products and problems to be traced to the source. The business determines customer requirements. The business has created systems for communicating with customers about product information, inquiries, contracts, orders, feedback, and complaints. When developing new products, the business plans the stages of development. With appropriate testing at each stage, it tests and documents whether the product meets design requirements, regulatory requirements, and user needs. The business regularly reviews performance through internal audits and meetings. The business determines whether the quality system is working and what improvements can be made. It has a documented procedure for internal audits. The business deals with past problems and potential problems. It keeps records of these activities and resulting decisions and monitors their effectiveness. The business has documented procedures for dealing with actual and potential non-conformances, such as problems involving suppliers, customers, or internal problems. The business makes sure no one uses a poor quality product, determines what to do with a poor quality product, deals with the root cause of problems, keep records to use as a tool to improve the system. The Deming cycle is a continuous quality improvement model which consists of a logical sequence of 4 key stages: plan, do, study, and act. It is a 4-step iterative technique used to solve problems and to improve organizational processes. It is interesting to bring together the concept of Deming cycles of continuous improvement, plan, do, check, act, and quality management systems. A simplification of what a good management system is trying to do is given in figure 12.3, which follows the improvement cycle. The quality management system and never-ending improvement. Write down what you do, justify what you do what is written, record what you did, review what you did, and revise what you will do.
My name is Jandev Kardangkal. So quality management system requirements. So the quality management system that needs to be documented and implemented will be determined by the nature of the process carried out to ensure that the product or services conforms to customer requirement. Certain fundamental principles are applicable, however, throughout industry, commerce, and services. These fall into a generally well-defined categories which are detailed in ISO 9001. So we have 4. First is the leadership and management responsibility. Second is resource management. Third is product or service realization. And fourth, lastly, the measurement, analysis, and improvement. So in leadership and management responsibility, the customer needs and requirements is the organization must focus on customer needs and specify them as defined requirements for the organization. The aim of this is to achieve customer confidence in products and or services. It is also necessary to ensure that the defined requirements are understood and fully met. So next is the quality policy. The organization should define and publish quality policy, which forms one element of the corporate policy. Full commitment is required from the most senior management to ensure that the policy is communicated, understood, implemented, and maintained at all levels in the organization. So the company quality policy should be authorized by top management and signed by the chief executive or equivalent, who must also ensure that it is suitable for the needs or requirements of the customers and the purpose of the organization. Also, it includes commitment to meeting requirements and continual improvement for all levels of organization. Next is it also provides a framework for establishing and reviewing quality objective. And lastly, it's regularly reviewed for its suitability and objectiveness. Quality objectives and planning. Organizations should establish written quality objectives and define the responsibilities of each function and level in organization. One manager reporting to the top management with the necessary authority, resources, support, and ability should be given the responsibility to coordinate, implement, and maintain the quality management system, resolve any problems, and ensure prompt and effective corrective action. This includes responsibility for ensuring proper handling of the system and reporting on needs for improvement. Next is the management review. So the management review of the system must be carried out by top management and define intervals with records to indicate the actions decided upon. The effectiveness of the action should be considered during subsequent reviews. Reviews typically include data on the internal quality audits, customer feedback, product conformance analysis, process performance, and the status of preventive, corrective, and improvement actions. Quality Manual. The organization should prepare a quality manual that is appropriate. It should include but not necessarily be limited to A. The quality policy. B. Definition of the quality management system. This includes scope, exclusions. C. Description of the interaction between the process of the quality management system. And letter D. Documented procedures required by the quality management system or reference to them. In a quality manual for a large organization, it may be convenient to indicate simply the existence and contents of the manuals, those containing the details of procedures and practices in operation in specific areas of the system. Before an organization can agree to supply the specifications, it must ensure that the process and equipment, including any that are subtracted, are capable of meeting the requirements. The operators have necessary skills and training. Next is the operating procedures are documented and not simply passed on verbally. Letter D. The plant and equipment instrumentation is capable. Letter E. The quality control procedures and inspections, check, or test methods available provide results to the required accuracy and precisions and are documented. F. Any subjective phrases in the specification, such as finely ground, low moisture content, and good time, are understood and procedures to establish the exact customer requirements exist. Control of documents. The organization needs to establish procedures for controlling the new and revised documents required for the operation of the quality management system. Documents of external origin must also be controlled. This procedure should be designed to ensure that first, documents are approved, second, documents are periodically reviewed and revised as necessary. Third is the current version of the relevant documents are available at all locations where activities essential to the effective functioning of the process are performed. Fourth is obsolete documents are promptly removed from all points of issue and use or otherwise controlled to prevent unplanned use. And lastly, any obsolete documents retained for legal or knowledge preservation purpose are suitable identified. Next is the control of quality records. Quality records are needed to demonstrate conformance to requirements and effective operation of the quality management system. Quality records from suppliers also need to be controlled. These aspects includes record identification, collection, indexing access, filing, storage, and disposition. In addition, the retention times of quality records needs to be established. Resource management. The organization should determine and provide the necessary resources to establish and improve the quality management system, including all processes and projects. The generation infrastructure need to achieve conformity to the product or services requirements needs to be provided and maintained, including buildings, equipment, and supporting services, and the work environment. Human resource and capability. The organization needs to select and assign people who are competent on the basis of applicable education, training, skills, and experience to those activities which impact the conformity of the product or the services. On the construction sites, for example, where much of the work is undertaken by the subcontractors. This includes workers and supervisors across the supply chain. The organization also needs to first is determine the training needed to achieve conformity of products and services. Number two, provide the necessary training to address these needs. And lastly, evaluate the effectiveness of the training on a continual basis. Product or service realization. As we have seen in figure 12.2, any organization needs to determine the process required to convert customer requirements into customer satisfaction by providing the requirement per product or services. In determining such process, the organization needs to consider the outputs from the quality planning process. The sequence and interaction of this process need to be determined, planned, and controlled to ensure they operate effectively, and there is a need to assign responsibilities for the operation and monitoring of the product or services generating process. The sequence and interaction of this process needs to be determined, planned, and controlled to ensure they operate effectively, and there is no need to assign responsibilities for the operation and monitoring of the product or services generating process. This process clearly need to be operated under controlled condition and produce outputs which are consistent with the organization's quality policy and objective, and it's necessary to A. Determine how each process influences the ability to meet product and or services requirements. B. Establish methods and practices relevant to process activities to the extent necessary to achieve consistent operation of the process. C. Verify process can be operated to achieve product and or services conformity. D. Determine the implement the criteria and methods to control processes related to the achievement of products and services conformity. E. Determine and implement arrangement for measurements, monitoring, and follow-up action to ensure process operative effectively and resultant product services meets and the requirements. F. Ensure availability of process, documentation, and records which provide operating criteria and information to support the effective operation and monitoring of the process. G. Provide the necessary resources for the effective operation of the process. Customer-related process. One of the first processes to be established is the one for identify customer requirements, both internal and external customers and immediate and end-user customers. This needs to consider the first is extent to which customer have specified the product or services requirements. Second is requirements not specified by the customer but necessary for fitness for purpose. Next is obligation related to the products or services, including regulatory and legal requirements. Next is other customer requirements for availability, delivery, and support of products and services. The identified customer requirements need also to be reviewed before commitment to supply a product or services is given to the customer. This should determine that identified customer requirements are clearly defined for the product and services. The order requirements are confirmed by acceptance, particularly when the customer provides no written statement of requirements. The contract or order requirements differing from those in any tender or quotation are resolved. This should also apply to amended customer contracts or orders. Moreover, each commitment to supply products or services, including an amendment to a contract or order, needs to be reviewed to ensure the organization will have the ability to meet the requirements. Any successful organization needs to implement effective communication and liaison with customer, particularly regarding the product and services information. Next is inquiry and order handling, including amendments. Next is customer complaints and other reports relating to non-conformities. Next is recall process where applicable. Next is customer responses relating to conformity of product and services. Design and development. The organization needs to plan and control design and development of products and services, including first is the stages of the design and development process. Next is required review, verification, and validation activities. Next is responsibilities for design and development activities. Interfaces between different groups involved in design and development need to be managed to ensure effective communication and clarity of the responsibilities, and any plans and associated documentation should be first is made available to personnel that need them to perform their work. Next is review and update as design and development evolves. The requirements to be met by the product or services need to be defined and recorded. Includes identified customer or market requirements, applicable regulatory and legal requirements, requirements derived from previous similar design, and any other requirements essential for design and development. Incomplete, ambiguous, or conflicting requirements must be resolved. The outputs of the design and development process need to be recorded in a format that allows verification against the input requirements. So the design and development output should A. Meet the design and development input requirements. B. Contain or make reference to design and development acceptance criteria. C. Determine characteristic of the design essential to safe and proper use and application of the product or services. And letter D. Design and development output documents should also reviewed and approved before release.
Good day everyone, my name is Angelica Yarso. So let's continue our topic. Procurement purchasing. Procurement or purchasing processes needs to be controlled to ensure purchased products, services conform to the organization's requirements. The type and extent of methods to do this are dependent on the effect of the purchased product service upon the final product service. Clearly, suppliers need to be evaluated and selected on their ability to supply the product or service in accordance with the organization's requirements. Supplier evaluation, suppliers audit record, and evidence of previously demonstrated ability should be considered when selecting suppliers and when determining the type and extent of supervision applicable to the purchased materials services. The procurement purchasing documentation should contain information clearly describing the product services ordered, including requirements for approval or qualification of product or service, procedures, processes, equipment, and personnel, any management system requirements, review and approval of purchasing documents for adequacy of the specification of requirements prior to release is also necessary. Any purchased product services needs some form of verification, where this is to be carried out at the supplier premises. The organization needs to specify the arrangement and methods for product services released in purchasing documents. Production and service delivery processes. The organization needs to control production and service delivery process through information describing the product service characteristics, clearly understandable work standard or instructions, suitable working environments, suitable inspection, measuring, and test equipment capable of the necessary accuracy and precision, the implementation of suitable monitoring, inspection, or test activities, provision for identifying the status of the product services with respect to required measurement and verification activities, suitable methods to release and deliver products or services, post-delivery services, where there is a requirement for the organization to provide support services after delivery of the product or services. This needs to be planned and in with the customer's requirements. Monitoring and measuring devices. There's a need to control, calibrate, maintain, handle, and store the applicable measuring, inspection, and test equipment to specified requirements in construction. This applied in the main to survey measuring equipment, quality assessment measuring equipment, and precision manufacturing equipment. Inspection and test equipment should be used in a way which ensure that any measuring uncertainly. The organization uncertainly needs to calibrate and adjust measuring, inspection, and test equipment at specified intervals or prior to use. Identify measuring, inspection, and test equipment with a suitable indicator or approved identification record to show its calibration status. Records the processes for calibration of measuring, inspection, and test equipment. Ensure the environmental conditions are suitable for any calibration, measurements, inspection, and test. Safeguard measuring, inspection, and test equipment from adjustment which would validate the calibration. Verify validity previous inspection and test result when equipment is found to be out of calibration. Establish the action to be initiated when calibration verification results are unsatisfactory. Measurements, analysis, and improvements. Any organization needs to define and implement measurement, analysis, and improvement processes to demonstrate that the products, service, and processes conform to the specified requirements. The type, location, and timing of these measurements needs to be determined and the result recorded based on their importance. Measurement and monitoring. There is a need to determine and establish processes for measurement of the quality management system performance. Customer satisfaction must be primary measure of system output, and the internal audits should be used as a primary tool for evaluating ongoing system compliance. The organization needs to establish a process for obtaining and monitoring information and data on both immediate and end-user customer satisfaction for all essential processes. The methods and measures for obtaining customer satisfaction information and data and the nature and the frequency of reviews needs to be defined to demonstrate the level of customer confidence in the delivery of conforming product and services supplied by the organization. Control of non-conforming products. Product and services which do not conform to requirements needs to be controlled to prevent unplanned use, application, or installation, and the organization needs to identify records and reviews the nature and extent of the problem encountered and determine the action to be taken. This needs to include how non-conforming service will be corrected or adjusted to conform to requirements, or accepted under concession with or without correction, or reassigned for alternative valid application, or rejected as unsuitable. The responsibility and authority for the review and resolving of non-conformities needs to be defined. Of course, when required by the contract, the proposed use or prepare of non-conforming products or a modified service needs to be reported for concession to the customers. The description of any correction or adjustments, accepted non-conformities, product repairs, or service modification also needs to be recorded. Where it is necessary to repair or rework a product or modify a service, verification requirements needs to be determined and implemented. Analysis of data. Analysis of data needs to be established as a means of determining where system improvement can be made. Data needs to be collected from relevant resources, including internal audits, corrective and preventive action, non-conforming products, services, customer complaints, and customer satisfaction result. The organization should then analyze the data to provide information on the effectiveness of the quality management system, process operation trends, customer satisfaction, conformance to customer requirements of the products, services, suppliers. Improvements. The organization needs to establish a process for eliminating the causes of nonconformity and preventing recurrence. Nonconformity reports, customer complaints, and other suitable quality management records are useful as inputs to the corrective action process. responsibilities for the corrective action needs to be established together with the procedures for the corrective action process, which should include identification of non-conformities of the product, services, process, quality management system, and customer complaints, investigation of causes of non-conformities and recording result of investigation, determination of corrective action needed to eliminate causes of non-conformities, implementation of corrective actions, follow-up to ensure corrective action taken is effective. Compliance certification. The International Standards Organization or ISO does not certify the organization itself. Numerous certification bodies exist which audit organization and upon success issue ISO 9001 compliance certificates, although commonly referred to as ISO 9000 certification. The actual standard to which an organization's quality management system can be certified is ISO 9001 under further revision at time of publication. Other management system and models. First, the international standard ISO 14001 contains specification for environmental management system for ensuring demonstrating compliance with the standard policies and objectives and acting as a base for auditing and review schemes. Second, ISO 1400 shares common principle with the ISO 9001 standard on quality management systems. The latter shows by correspondence between the two under the main heading both standards that the quality standard has been aligned with the requirements of the environmental standard. Third, ISO 9000 also makes comments on the relationship between quality management system and excellence models. The two are based on the common principles of identifying strengths and weaknesses, evaluation, continuous improvements, external recognition.